name is Aradhana Ramnarine Singh. Chess is a game of strategy that has been around for hundreds of years. It is a mental game. It is a battle between two players in which each player tries to trap the enemy king. When you trap the enemy king, this is called checkmate. Chess is played on a 64-squared board with 32 light squares and 32 dark squares. There are 8 ranks numbered from 1 to 8 and 8 piles lettered from A to H. Each square has a name corresponding to the intersection of the file and the rank. For example, this square is called D4 and this square is called B3. Remember, the letter comes before the number. Now let's take a look at how the pieces move, starting with the rook. This is the rook. It moves up to down or vertically, left to right or horizontally. It is worth 5 points. Each piece has a point value ascribed to it based on its range of motion. Now Sadiqah will teach you more about the pieces.
Hi everyone, my name is Sadiqah Razark and I am a WFM and the 3rd Vice President of the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association. Now that we've learned about the rooks, let's learn about the bishops. Each player has 2 bishops, one on a light square and one on a dark square. The bishops are worth 3 points. They move in diagonals. This is how the bishop moves. If we put a pawn on f3, this bishop can actually capture this pawn. Now we have the queen. The queen is worth 9 points. It moves like a rook and a bishop. It moves horizontally, vertically, and diagonally. Now we have the knight. The knight is also worth 3 points and moves in an L shape. The knight moves 1, 2, 3. 3 squares across. The knight is a special piece because it can actually jump over other pieces. For example, this knight can actually jump over the pawn on b7 and capture the pawn on b6. Now we have Gabriella Johnson introducing you to the king and pawn.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabriella Johnson. I am a Women's International Master and I'm also the Public Relations Officer at the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association. Today I'm going to be showing you the king. So this is the king. The king is the most important piece in chess. Aradhana already mentioned that once we trap the king, we win the game. So our king doesn't really have a point value, we consider him priceless. Our king moves 1 square at a time in all directions. So he can move like this, then the opponent plays, then he might move like this again in any direction. Now, it's important to note, so we just looked at the bishop. It's important to note that our king cannot move to a square where he's going to be attacked or threatened by an enemy piece. So the king cannot move to this square because we already know the bishop moves diagonally. So the king cannot move to a square where it's going to be threatened by our opponent's piece. Next up, we have the pawn. Our pawn is worth 1 point. Our pawn will start here at the beginning of the game. And then, on the first move, the pawn can move either 2 squares or 1 square. So we can move 2 squares on the first move, and then after that, just 1 square at a time. So 1, 1. So if the pawn is already here, you can't move 2 squares at a time. Or on the first move, the pawn can also move 1 square at a time. What is interesting about the pawn is that how it's different to the other pieces is that all the other pieces eat how they move, but the pawn actually eats like a bishop even though it moves forward. What do I mean by that? Well, if I have a pawn that's here and I move like this, my pawn eats diagonally. And then it takes the square of the piece that it eats. Okay, so now we have all of our pieces and we're ready to set up the board. So we'll start with the rooks. This is an easy way to remember it. Your rooks look like castles, right? Castles have walls, they go on the outside. So they go on the outside. Then outside the castle, we have our horses, so our knights. defending the castle. They go next to the rook. Then, next to the knights, we have the bishops. Those are like the soldiers on top. The knights defending the castle, they go next. And, well, all of them are defending the king and the queen who go in the center. Now, the queen goes on her color square. So if we have the white queen or the light queen, she goes on a light square on D. And the king goes right next to her. Then all the pawns, which are like the servants, just go in front. Now, when we finish put all the pawns for white, we'll do the same thing for black. Now that we're set up, we're ready to play. And white plays first. Now, Sadiqah and Aradhana are going to play a short demo game and I will show it to you on the board. White pawn to E4. Black pawn to E5. White bishop to C4. Black knight to C6. White queen to H5. Black knight to F6. And queen takes pawn on F7, checkmate. This is checkmate. This is called the scholar's mate. Now, remember, as Aradhana mentioned, when we trap the king, we win the game. White has trapped black's king. The black king cannot move because it cannot move to a square where it's going to be threatened. It can't move here because the queen is cutting off this square, and he cannot eat the queen because then he will be under threat by the bishop. So this is checkmate.
Give it your all, stand tall, put your work in. Power up your game. When I work out, I put my work in. If you wanna play, better give it your all, stand tall, put your work in.
Hi, I am Sanja Johnson, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association. I also serve as Chair of the Planning and Development Commission of the International Chess Federation, FIDE, based in Switzerland. The Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association was officially launched in 1936. So we've been around for almost, this year would actually be 85 years. A long time, I'm sure, for any NGB. So I am happy to actually report that the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association had a number of significant achievements. Major achievements of the association include our inaugural publication, Historic Moves, celebrating 80 years of chess in Trinidad and Tobago, and of course the multiple awards. We won the Jeffrey Stallmeyer Awards for top sporting organizations, small, as well as the overall in 2019 top sporting organization. Chess provides many opportunities for girls at different levels. We have the level of the player, we have the level of the arbiter, in other sports it's called the referee, and of course we have the level of the administrator. So the interesting thing is that chess really has a wonderful culture as it relates to inclusivity in general. Females are welcomed, and you could see, again, by the inclusion at all levels, even within the administration, where at least 50% of the positions of the officials are female. This is a culture, of course, that we want to continue. We see that as being positive, as we believe women bring a lot of good to the table in terms of their perspectives and know-how. Now, chess is generally a male-dominated sport. So sometimes girls may be a little bit wary of wanting to enter such an arena. But what we've realized is that we just need to make sure that the space remains a safe space in terms of the environment, in terms of the venues that we select, how it is we engage the girls. I think and the guys actually have a role to play, and they've done a wonderful job in making sure the girls feel comfortable within this environment. It was great to see that the ministry came up with this Pink Rain campaign, which was a culmination of all the public consultations of getting girls and females within sport. It will propel the adoption of sport by females and girls across Trinidad and Tobago. We have a few key goals in the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association. Of course, the primary one would be getting a home for chess. We do so much work within the organization. There's so much more to be done. and we can do even more once we are afforded this additional resource in terms of a home for chess. Of course, I remain optimistic. We have a good relationship with the ministry. I know that this will happen. The other main goal is capacity building. So in order to have a sport that is successful, we need to make sure that our persons are well trained, whether it's players, officials, administrators. We have done much of that in the past and we commit to do even more in the future. I am Sanja Johnson, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Chess Association, and I choose to challenge. Do you?
If you wanna play ball, better give it your all, stand tall.